If your middle schooler is struggling with writing, getting decent grades on the content, but something just feels off, I want you to hear something. It's not that they can't write, it is that nobody ever taught them how thinking becomes writing. And those are two completely different problems with two completely different solutions. I'm Dr. Lisa Hoover. I taught middle school English. I have worked with students on one-on-one across grade level and school types, whether it's public, private, advanced classes, or even honor programs. Um, and I keep seeing the exact same thing. And that is kids who understand the book, kids who understand the assignment, but kids who have real opinions about whatever they're reading and or doing. Kids who can tell you exactly what happened and why it mattered. And then they sit down to write an essay or to produce something that sounds like they never read it at all. That gap, that's not a writing problem, people. That's a teaching problem. And today I'm going to show you exactly what's missing and what you can do about it. So let's get to it, shall we? Here's what I see happen over and over again. I teach, a teacher assigns an essay. The assignment says, write a thesis statement, do the three body paragraphs, give me evidence and analysis. And what happens? The kid stares at the page, right? They freeze up. They write something that kind of sounds like the example the teacher already gave them on the paper and they turn it in. They get maybe a B minus, more likely a C minus, and the teacher writes they need more analysis. Okay. The thesis is unclear, is what I've seen on some of the students that I work with. And the kid has no idea what that means because nobody actually really ever explained it. And here's the part that breaks my heart because the kid already knows everything. When I say everything, they need to write that essay. It's already here. They think they don't know, but they just don't know how to get it out. I was working with a seventh grader recently. He got a 28% on his essay. 28%. And when I sat down with him and just asked him to talk to me about the book, no structure, no rubric. I wanted the kid to just tell me what you think and what happened. And here's what I found out. He knew everything about the book. He had opinions, he had examples, he even had an argument. The funny thing is, he just didn't know that's what it was because nobody told him. So, what's actually missing? As a educator, former educator, like once an educator, always an educator, once this, always that. It's just in your blood. There are 5 specific things schools teach students the name of without ever really explaining what it actually is. And once you understand these 5 things, you will never look at your child struggle to write the same way because it is a struggle to write. Okay. Doesn't mean that they can't. So let's talk about the 5 things. Number 1, the thesis statement. Okay. When most students hear that, they start freaking out because it's a new term that's being introduced to them, right? But here's the thing. Every middle schooler has learned what a main idea is. Since 3rd grade, 4th grade, at the latest. And all the thesis statement is a main idea, because it is the main idea. It just has an argument attached to it. It's not a new skill, people. It's the same skill with a grown-up suit on it. That's how I explain it to my students, right? But nobody ever says that. Nobody says, "Hey, do you remember main idea?" It's the same thing. But now you tell me, but now you have to tell me not just what it's about, but what you think about it and why it matters. You see the difference? So you're not just telling me what it is or what it's about, but now you have to tell me what you think about it and why it matters. That's the thesis statement. And if they did that, every kid would say, "Oh, I got it." Because that's exactly what happened with two of the students that I was working with. Okay. Number two, supporting points. Okay. Since elementary school, at least when I was in elementary school, I know as well for people that are younger than me, every student has been finding details that support a main idea. It's just what we've done. That's all supporting points are. They're nothing but the details. Three details. We all been finding three details for how long? Are the three reasons, the three moments from the work, from the book, or whatever it is. Except now you have to explain why each of those matter. Do you see how the progression is when you get to the grown-up part, right? That why it matter part is now the analysis, right? That why it matters. So we've been finding three details, 3 points, right? Three reasons. And now we have to explain why each of those matter, which brings me to number three. And that is the analysis, point blank, period. Analysis sounds so intimidating. It's not. It's not. It's just the answer to your number two as to why those 3 points matter. So I always tell the kids, it is your so what. You're telling me that, but so what? And then you ask, well, why does that prove my point? Right? And every kid is going to have an opinion about why that proves their point. And nobody told them that writing those opinions down is what analysis really is. When you're writing your opinion as to why that matters, that's your analysis. Okay? Which brings me to number four, evidence. Here's one of the biggest mistakes I see. Students find a quote and then they try to build an argument around the quote. That's backwards, completely. You form your argument in your brain first from what you actually think, because it's your thoughts, right? Then you go find a quote that supports it. Evidence serves the argument, not the other way around. The argument does not serve the evidence. Okay. And so when kids form their opinion, right, and they have the analysis, right, then they need to find evidence in the work, in the prose, or whatever it is that supports their argument. So, argument first. And here's the big one, number five. And that is the one that causes all the others to exist. Do you want to know what number five is? Five is thinking. Can you believe it? Yeah, thinking. It's just that simple. It's just thinking. Yeah. Nobody told them that writing is really thinking, because that's exactly what it is. Writing is thinking. They are two separate acts. When you ask a student to think and write at the same time on a blank sheet of paper that has no words on it, with a rubric staring at them with points, they immediately freeze. Not because they can't write, because they haven't even thought yet. And you're asking them to do something what they haven't even thought about. And you cannot in my opinion, write an argument you haven't thought about. So separate the two things. You get the thinking out first, and then you apply the structure, and the writing becomes almost effortless. You still have to work out the mechanics and grammar and syntax and all of that, but that's structure, right? But you have to first start off with what it is that you're trying to say. And I want to be honest about something because these 5 gaps, the thesis, nobody explained, the analysis, nobody named, the thinking, nobody separated from the writing, they do not land the same way on every child, right? When a child comes in with real thinking and a real voice and real analysis that doesn't fit the expected form, the system has a choice. It can say, interesting, let me look closer. Or it can say, something is wrong with this child. And I have watched what it says to Black children over and over in private schools, in advanced classes, in honor programs, even on the collegiate level. The thinking is there, the understanding is there. Hell, if you talk to them long enough, the argument is there. But it doesn't fit the rubric the way the rubric was designed to be fit. And when it does that, the child gets a 28%. Or gets told they need to be evaluated because they have some gaps. Or they get pushed out of a program by people who never once asked, what does this child actually know? And I saw that. And every time I saw it, I fought against it. I have sat with these kids and I have read their free rights. And I'm here to tell you, with every fiber of my being, the thinking was always there for these kids, always. The system just didn't have a way to see it. That is why this method starts with the thinking. Before the structure, before the rubric comes out, before anyone gets to decide what form of intelligence should take, why don't we start by protecting the most important thing, the thinking? Because the thinking has to be protected first, always. So what do you actually do about any of this? The method I use, I call it the writing lab lie. And it has 3 phases, always in the same order. Phase 1 is the free write. Before any structure, before any rubric, the student writes for 10 minutes about what they know. No stopping to fix any spelling or grammar or syntax or any type of thing. The sentence can be run on. I don't care. It doesn't matter if it sounds smart or not. I don't care. I just need the student to tell me about the book, the chapter, the assignment, whatever the artifact is that they're using, like they're explaining it to one of their friends. And here is what happens every single time I've done this. The argument they've been struggling to write is already in their free write. It's in their head the whole time. They just needed permission or the freedom to get it out without the pressure of the structure, right? Phase 2 is the translation, which this is where I read the free write back to them, or sometimes I have them read it back to me. And I ask them 3 questions. What is the most important thing that you said? That's the first question. The second question I ask them, why does that even matter? And then finally, I ask them, what moments in the book could prove what you're saying? Those are the 3 questions I ask. And those 3 questions in that order are everything that we just talked about. They are the thesis, They are the analysis and they are the evidence. And guess what? The student just built their essay. The one they didn't even know that they had already in their brain. So, we still have to deal with the rubric, and that's phase 3. That's the structure. Now we introduce the mechanics, right? Now the thesis statement makes sense, right? Because they can see it. It's just the most important thing that they have to say. And then they begin to organize the sentences, right? And they can see it begin to develop. And now the analysis makes sense, right? Their opinion, right? And then because they have thinking to hang the structure on, right? They're not searching for it first and then trying to make sense of it. It's already here. And let me say this: structure without thinking is just mimicking, period. And let me tell you what I have learned over the various years of this is that our kids are good at mimicking us, but they're not learning to write at that point. They're learning to perform writing. And there's a big difference. I want to be clear about something. How do I say this? Your child is not behind. Um, your child is not a bad writer. They have been given vocabulary words that seem to ginormous, is one of the kids say to me, that they seem just so huge to them, like thesis, analysis, evidence, right? Without the translation of what they connect to what they already have been doing, what they already know how to do, right? And this is the tough part, really tough for me. And if your child is Black, and if they're sitting in a classroom where the thinking gets questioned before it gets celebrated, I want you to know that this method was built with them in mind, not as an afterthought, but as the starting point. I also want you to know something else. It's fixable. And it doesn't require a tutor for every assignment or a program that costs hundreds of dollars. It requires someone to sit with them, even for 30 minutes, and say, just tell me what you know first. Before the structure, before the rubric, before the writing, just tell me what you think. If you want to try free write method with your own child this week, I have a free guide linked below. It includes the exact prompts I use for most of the common assignments given to students, right? Particularly for middle school students, but I also have some for high school. You'll have to DM me or reach out to me. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to run a session with your child, the way you just heard, that's available too. The link is below. Subscribe so you don't miss the next session. And if this resonated, if you recognize your child in something that I said or something that I didn't say, share it with one parent who needs to hear it. Because the truth of the matter is, thinking starts before the writing. It's just that simple. I'm Dr. Lisa Hoover. This is Writing Lab Live, where we teach thinking comes first and writing will follow. Thank you so much.